2024. I would like to welcome all the seniors on board already. I'd like to welcome all the lovely caregivers, our wonderful caregivers here present, and all of you, dear ladies, and most so our facilitator this morning, Mr. Ronald Mukasa, who has been on for now over 10 minutes. Thank you so much for braving the morning rain, the morning cold. It's very cold around here in Bugolobi. Thank you for coming on early. Purposeful Aging is humbled to have Mr. Ronald Mukasa this morning and to share with you all whatever has happened and whatever is going to happen in 2024. We last shared in November 23, so that is a lot of time since we last met, more than 2 months. On behalf of Purposeful Aging, allow me to welcome you to 2024. We trust and believe that the year will be fruitful and that God will continue to be gracious to all of us. It is very, very exciting for Purposeful Aging team to welcome Mr. Mukasa, Ronald, to start off our sessions this year, and in particular this January morning. Due to popular demand, the seniors asked for more guidance in the area of what they are popularly calling economy these days. And we thought and believe that Mr. Mukasa will be the best choice for us to start the year with. Mr. Ronald Mukasa, Purposeful Aging is honored and indeed very excited to have you to kick off the year. Thank you for accepting to be with us. And good morning to you. I'll say a few words about Mr. Mukasa because many of you already know him. He's going to work with us on the topic, setting and achieving your financial goals in the year 2024. Mr. Mukasa is a financial literacy coach, consultant, trainer, and business development professional. He's a business development manager at Enterprise Uganda, where he has worked for more than 8 years. During the last 5 years, Mr. Mukasa has provided business management, financial literacy sessions, and financial management training to corporate, government, and non-government institutions. Mr. Mukasa has also facilitated several team building and financial literacy sessions specializing in empowering teams to increase productivity, manage change, and build cohesion. I think you have all noted manage change is very important for our elders here. Ronald Mukasa clients include banks like DFCU, bodies like Kampala City Authority, UNRA, NEMA, MTN Uganda, SWICO, Nile Breweries, World Vision, UN SACO, and several other institutions. He's a certified public accountant, CPA / FCCA, and a lecturer at MAT Uganda. Mr. Mukasa holds a master's degree in development management at the London School of Economics and Political Science, LSE. And he has a Bachelor of Statistics at Makerere University. Ronald Mukasa has worked as an auditor with PricewaterhouseCoopers, Uganda. With that brief of the long CV of Mr. Mukasa, I believe all of you trust that this is the best choice for us this morning. To our esteemed attendees, let us commit to this 1 hour and a half, and we learn all about finances. We welcome questions and comments in the chat box during the session. And at the end of his presentation, we shall interact with again, questions and answers. We welcome any of you to raise your hand and give comments and questions and suggestions. As a reminder, old sessions can be found on YouTube, and you take your time to go through them, so you don't have to worry about maybe the speed of this morning. You can always visit Purposeful Aging, as you have seen in the slides which have just been going on. At this juncture, I would like to welcome Mr. Ronald Mukasa to take us through this session, where all of us are anxiously waiting to learn or to readjust, setting and achieving our financial goals for the year 2024. Mr. Mukasa, you are most welcome this morning.
Thank you so much, Dr. Christina, for that kind introduction. Good morning. It's an honor to be back to Purposeful Aging. It's always an exciting honor, so I want to thank Dr. Christina, Philippa, and the team for giving me this opportunity to come back and share. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Yes, we can hear you very, very clearly.
Super. Great. So this morning, we are starting the new year. I think when February ends, people stop telling each other Happy New Year. But I want to just say Happy New Year to those of you who have joined the conversation this morning. We thank God that we are here. We thank God that we have life. We thank God that we have seen this new year. It's easy to take for granted, but one thing for sure is that each day is an exciting opportunity to get better. It's an exciting opportunity to start again. I'll briefly turn on my camera for those who might not have seen me, then I'll turn it off so that I can have a better connection. That's who I am. And I'm very, very excited and honored to be here. So today we agreed to have a conversation on how to plan, how to prepare, how to execute, and how to keep doing this again. And we are really looking at how can we be able to set and achieve our financial goals. I think this topic is really part of the broader topic of setting goals. We all have goals that we want to achieve. Some of us, they may be health goals, to say, you know what, this year, which has started, I want to be able to walk 5 kilometers a day, and that's your goal, and you have set out to do that, and possibly you have even got the gear and you're ready to start. But that's the goal which you have set out. Some people have set goals for their relationships. They're saying, you know what, I need to be closer to my family. I will make sure that I give a call to my family members, to my brothers, to my sisters, to my children, once every week. I'm going to be in their lives, and that's something which is deliberate. Some people have set career goals. They are saying, this year I really want to be able to make progress on my career. Now, irrespective of which goals you have set, there are general rules which govern goal setting, and I'm going to talk about a couple of those. But really, what I hope we can be able to achieve this hour is to step away from the general goal setting conversation, and we put ourselves right at the center of that conversation. What is it that we are seeking to achieve? Some of you who met with family members during the Christmas season. People meet with family, some people go to the village. And one thing which is fascinating is when you listen to what other people want to achieve, you may meet a relative whose goal is to roof his house this year. That's the goal. Says, if I can roof it and enter my house, 2024 will be a good year. You'll find another person who says, I want to be able to take my first child to university. That's the goal which I have set out. You will find another person who says, if I can get a job which pays me monthly this year, that would be a good year. Now, all of us have different goals, and it's important that we understand that the conversation on goal setting is actually an individual conversation. It's a conversation which takes a lot of introspection. You need to sit down and ask yourself, exactly what am I looking for? Sometimes when you hear other people's goals, they make your goals feel like they're a joke. You hear what people are planning to do, and then you notice actually your plans are not that strong, and that can be intimidating. But even amidst all that, I would like to urge you that just sit down and say, this is what I am looking at doing, and I want to see this through. So we'll get into it now and start the conversation. I've prepared a couple of slides to kind of run us through this. And the first bit which I'm going to talk about is to plan. How should we think about this thing called planning? Now I'm going to start off with a story which we use quite often in the work we do. So as I've been introduced, I do a lot of work on financial literacy. I also work with an organization called Enterprise Uganda. Enterprise Uganda, we largely work with the small and medium businesses on a daily to see how they can be able to grow their businesses. And I borrowed a bit of this from conversations which we have with entrepreneurs to kind of understand why it is important to establish goals. And this story is called Kapere from the village, who found himself at the Busega roundabout. All of us know the Busega roundabout. There is a road somewhere going to Mitiana. There is another one which is going to Masaka. There is another one coming to town. It's a real big crossroad. Now, Kapere comes, and Kapere is at that big roundabout right in the center where usually the police people park their big trucks. Right there in the center of the roundabout, he's standing there, and he walks up to someone and he says, you know what, I want you to show me the way. So the other person says, where are you going? Which is the obvious question. Where are you going? Now Kapere says that I actually don't know where I am going. And the response of the old man who he asked is absolutely powerful. The response was that if you don't know where you are going, then any road can get you there. If you don't know where you are going, then any road can get you there. That's the response the old man gave to Kapere. He's told him that if you're standing right here at the roundabout of Busega and you don't know where you are going, then any road is actually going to get you there. And when we think about financial goals, it is important that we start from that perspective. That if we don't set any financial goals, if we don't have a destination, then any road can be taken. And it's very fascinating how I mean, people are clear on goals in some things. You find that people work with institutions. Institutions have strategy meetings, and the institution is very clear on what it wants to do in a certain year. However, when it comes to our personal finances, you find that often that conversation is hazy. We are not very clear exactly where we want to go. Yes, we have a feeling, we have a bit that, oh, this is what we want to do, but it's not clear in our minds. And friends, when you think about goal setting, one of the most powerful things is to understand that if you set a goal, you are halfway there because you have decided where you're going. If Kapere said, you know what, I want to be able to get to Kampala, to the center of the city, the old man will tell him, take this road. You will get to the center of the city. If Kapere said that, you know what, I want to get to Masaka, he'll say, oh, take this road. You need to get there. So you need to make sure that your Masaka is defined, your Kampala is defined at the beginning. And a lot of goal setting is seated there. It is the idea that we need to be able to say clearly where we are going. Now, I want to pause here for a minute, and those of us on the call, I want you to go to the chat box. And how many of us can be able to say our financial goal? Assuming you are someone who you are seated with today asks you, what is your financial goal? How many of us can be able to say it with clarity within a sentence of just 7 words? That this is what I want to do. That's the financial goal for the year. If your answer is a yes, just post yes in the chat box. Say that, yes, I think my financial goal, I can say it in one go. And I think actually it could even be better. Just type it. Type what the financial goal is in a sentence. Say, this is my financial goal this year. Set it out. This year, I have decided that I need to be able to have a stable income of 2 million per month. That's the goal which I have set. Some people may say that, as those of us who are possibly still in employment, you may say, my financial goal this year, there's a couple of young people on the call, my financial goal this year is simply to be able to get out of debt. That's my financial goal. I want to be debt free. So if the goal is clear to you, is it a yes? Is it a maybe? Is it a no? Now, friends, I'm looking at the chat box. I think, thank you, Dr. Philippa. I think Dr. Philippa has come through. Emanuela says it's a yes to roof my house. That is Rugi. Thank you. Great. The Jennifer says that's my goal. To make money and complete some of my retirement projects. Super. Additional source of income. Yes. To meet my expenditures from my own money. To save 30% of my salary. Yeah, a couple of people are coming through. Now, friends, to save at least 50 million and replace my car. Madam Anna, that's the goal. To grow my business income, yes. Great. Now, if Madam Chisachi has come through to restore my projects that collapsed last year. Now, if for sure the answer comes quickly, then it's a step in the right direction. If for some reason you feel like the answer to that question is difficult, of what the goal is, just to type it out and write it, it is a sign that possibly the first thing you need to do after this session is to answer that question. Just exactly where am I going? And our goals can be different. They don't have to be the same, but they have to exist. Just having a clarity of purpose. What is it that I'm chasing and why am I chasing it? What is it that I want to achieve? That process of clarifying the direction is possibly one of it appears to be the simplest step, but it is also a step which many have not made. And friends, it's important to notice that in its absence, you keep sailing through, but you keep rotating in the same place because there is no direction. And if you have no direction, those of us who are looking at your money will give you direction. And I'll talk about this in a moment. If, for example, you haven't decided what you do with what you want to do with your money this year, what your financial goal is, your relatives will decide for you. So that one has a lot of money. Let me send them one of my sons, and he looks after them because he has money and he's not very clear. The direction, if you don't decide where you want to go, chances are someone else will decide for you. And it's important that that direction is clear. So my first message here is that ensure that you have clarified what that financial goal is. And we all know the goal has to be smart, and I won't go into that. But ideally, it has to exist. Simon says it's to pay my monthly life insurance premium and unit trusts savings by 28. So that's what Simon wants to do. That's if I can do that consistently for the year, for me, that's a powerful financial goal. Now, the bit about the clarity of purpose is important because if it doesn't exist, you find that it becomes difficult to start walking the journey. So let's quickly move on. So the goal may be anything. Some people, their goal is financial independence, a status of having enough income to pay one's living expenses for the rest of one's life without having to be employed or dependent on others. That's what some people are looking at. They say, you know what, I don't want to depend on other people. I want to be able to depend on my income, and I want to be able to earn it. And it's noble. Other people, their goal may be to leave an inheritance. They say, you know what, in this time of my life, I want to be able to leave something for my children, leave something for my children's children. That could be their goal. And they're saying that's what I am chasing. Other people, it's financial freedom. They are tired of worrying about money. They want to live a life where they can make decisions without worrying about the money bit which is attached to it, and it's a noble goal. Now, I think for me, what is important is to appreciate what is my goal, what is the one for me. And when you have appreciated what is the goal for me, then you can start the journey of saying, how do I prepare to get towards that goal? So it's important that that goal exists. Now, I would like to quickly say that it's important that the goal is challenging and achievable. Yes, it should be achievable, but it should equally be challenging. It should be a challenging goal. Every goal you set, there has to be a challenge embedded into it. If your goal doesn't make you uncomfortable, then possibly it is not challenging enough. It doesn't matter at what point of life you are, but you need to wake up every day when the goals that you have set are drawing you towards themselves. it seems like you need to boost the energy to be able to achieve that goal. And I think it's very important to notice that if a goal lacks challenge, chances are high that it weakens your resolve to pursue it because of its lack of challenge. And I'm going to tell you a quick story here, and we call this story the village fool story. So there's this gentleman who enters a village, and when he enters the village, he notices that actually every tree in that village, there is a guy who has hit the bull's eye. He has shot the arrow and it is right there in the middle of the bull's eye. So he's fascinated. He says, who is this person who hits the bull's eye every time? So what happens is that he asks around the village, and the villagers tell him, oh no, that's the village fool. He's the one who hits the bull's eye every time. So he's fascinated. He says, how can a village fool, this village has agreed that this person needs to be called the fool. How does that person manage to hit the bull's eye every time? So as he walks around the village, he meets a person with a can of paint and a set of arrows. And they bump into each other, and he tells him, you know what, I'm on this village, and there's a guy who hits the bull's eye every time. I'm fascinated. I'm asking, how is it that he can hit the bull's eye every time? So the guy says, no, I'm the one. I am the one who hits the bull's eye every time. So he tells, show me how you do it. So he says, let me show you. So he picks one of the arrows, he puts it into the bow, stretches it, and he hits a tree. After hitting the tree, he walks to the tree and he gets the red paint, he paints around the arrow. He gets the white paint, he paints around the red arrow, as the picture shows. And he says, that's how I do it. That's how I hit the bull's eye every time. And this guy is shocked. See, no, I can even show you again. He picks up another arrow, he hits another tree, he walks towards that tree, he paints around the where the arrow has hit. He paints around it. He paints red, he paints white around. Says, that is exactly how I hit the bull's eye every time. And this guy understood why he is called the village fool. And I want you to reflect for a moment. Why do they call him a village fool? Because this guy seems to hit the bull's eye every time, but he puts the bull's eye there after he has hit. And friends, it's important for us to reflect on this. What is wrong with this guy? I don't know if someone can just, I don't know, Philippa, I don't know, can someone unmute and speak? Is it possible?
There are some comments in the chat.
All right, I think I've seen a couple of comments.
You can unmute also.
All right. When you reflect on this guy, what does this story tell us? I just want to hear from a couple of people. There's a hand. Yes, Jennifer.
Yeah, this village fool is not challenging himself or herself enough, because if you challenge yourself, you have to set the goal first, mark the circles first, then target. He first hit however low the target is and thinks he has achieved or she has achieved. That is what I think.
Super. Thank you, Madam Jennifer. The village fool is not challenging himself. There is no challenge at all. And Mary says he does not have a target. And you need to understand that it is possible to play finance that way. That you enter the year, and when we ask you at the end of the year, what did you set out to do? You draw a circle around what happened. As Madame Jennifer has said rightly, you first draw the target. Then you step away. After you step away from the tree, you pull the bow and you send it. Sometimes you might hit the bull's eye. Sometimes you might hit outside the target. But the target is set at the beginning. So one of the messages I want to share with you today is that it's very, very important to ensure that actually the goal is set before you start shooting. The goal is set. If someone says, and the goal has to be clear, it has to be very specific, and say, I have drawn the target here. This year, I want to have in my unit trusts 50 million shillings. I currently have 2.5, but I want to have 50 million shillings. That is my emergency fund. It's a fund which I have there, and it is 50 million shillings. And I've set out to say, that's what I am going to do. So Bwana George says, the village fool has no objective. Whatever outcome his actions, he adjusts his mindset to make it acceptable. And that's absolutely right. And we need to make sure that we are not falling for the temptation of playing money the way the village fool was. That you said is what I am going to
Hello.
what I am going to
Ronald, you're
deal
a
with.
bit unclear.
And it's very, very critical. It's very critical. We ensure.
Ronald, you are breaking off. You are breaking off a bit. Maybe you would like to repeat.
Hello.
The few sentences. Hello, Ronald. You've been breaking off a bit. Hello. Hello. Wow. Tina, you could share us a few slides as we try to pick Ronald again.
Hello. Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, you are right back. We can hear you.
Okay, super. Sorry, I my network played trick on me. Let me just share again. Dr. Philippa, can you give me rights to share? Okay, I can share now. Okay, good. Sorry about that. You can see my slides?
Yes, we can.
Okay, super. Apologies. Yes, as I was saying, we need we need to avoid the temptation of playing personal finance like the village fool. We need to ensure that we are setting our goals, they are challenging goals, so that they're not achievable, but they're not out of distance, but they need to be able to challenge us so that we can be able to move towards them. Now, let me quickly move on. How do we prepare? In terms of preparation, I think one of the things which is important is to make sure that the numbers have become clear. When you say there is a destination, it's very important to say what exactly is it that we are chasing. Have we been able to set out? One of the numbers, and I think I've shared this in a previous conversation, is in personal finance, people take their net worth seriously. And you may say that this is what I've set out to do. What's my expected net worth at this point? This is borrowed from The Millionaire Next Door. It's a computation which some have challenged in some of our contexts, but it's a useful guide. And you could say that, you know what am I expected to be at? I'm 45 years old now, and this computation, the argument which the writers of the book say is that if you could use this computation as a way of determining where you are supposed to be. And they argue that your expected wealth should be equal to your age times your realized pre-tax. Pre-tax is your gross salary. Pre-tax household income times 12, which makes it annual, divided by 10. So for example, if you are 40 years old and your pre-tax income is your income is 10 million, that is 40 times 10 million. 40 times 10 million gives you 400 million. Times 12, the 400 million times 12 gives you 4.8 billion. Divided by 10, that's 480 million. It means that your expected net worth now, when you add together the properties you have, what you have in NSSF, it should be around over 480 million. Actually, the writer says that the safe estimate is twice that amount, so times 2 of that figure. But why I brought this is because it can give you context to say, what exactly am I trying to pursue? Another person may say, I just want to be able to set out to have passive income monthly of 1 million shillings. If I have passive income monthly of 1 million shillings, that can help me kind of move comfortably. Someone who possibly is in retirement, like Dr. Christina, it could be an argument of saying, you know what, I have assets, but I need these assets which I have to give me safely every month. I want the assets to give me 2 million shillings, to give me 5 million shillings. And you said that's what I demand of my assets. And if the assets are not doing that, then your question will be, how do I convert these assets to be able to do what I want them to do? I'll give an example. You could say that, you know what, I've computed my net worth. It's actually quite big. However, I need 5 million of cash on my account. So I have this big plot of land or this big piece of land, and I think the land, it can't do what I want it to do right now. And for me to be able to get this land to do what I want it to do, I need to convert that asset. I possibly need to work with one of the financial institutions to work out an annuity, which will give me, let me say I can sell the land 500 million shillings. If I sell it 500 million shillings, I go to the insurance firm, I open up a unit trust or a retirement program with them, which can give me a clear annuity. And all I want is that I deposit my 500 million, it gives me 5 million per month, and it doesn't reduce. It remains 500 billion. And so that's my goal, and that's what I've set out to do. And sometimes to be able to do this, it's important to start with the budget. For many of us, we need to be clear exactly what is it that we are chasing and why. And you say that this is what I need. For the people who are still in their work lives, in active service, they may say that, you know what, I have school fees to pay. I have every month I need 4 million shillings to exist. I need 8 million shillings to exist. I need 10 million shillings to exist. I need 1 million shillings to exist. I said that I've put that out. This is the income I am currently having. You need to make sure that you sit down and set that out, because sometimes when you're setting the goal, we don't go deep into knowing what those numbers are. There are a number of budgeting tools online. I encourage you to, Ben, you just go to your Play Store and you can be able to say, I want just a personal budgeting tool. You pick out one and you say, I just want to make sure the numbers are here. But even though you don't choose that, you can even use a book, you can use Excel. But ideally, you put out the numbers and you say, this is exactly what I am chasing. On terms of, and I've shared this in previous conversations on a budget. And this is very relevant, especially to the people who are starting out in work. The fact that this is what they call the Jewish five jars. The Jewish five jars makes an argument that when you get money and you're budgeting it, you should budget it in 5 jars. The first jar is to your God. Christians call it tithe, Muslims call it zakat, call it different things in different faiths, but 10%. You see, that's part of it. 10% I am going to be generous with, I will give. To be generous is okay, it's very good. Plan to give. 10% I'm going to save for emergencies. I'm going to set up an emergency fund. We are told this should be 3 to 6 months of our monthly expenses. We should have at least 3 to 6 months in our emergency fund. Then you say 20% I will invest, and I'll spend 50%. This could be a guide which you use as you plan your budget. Now, when you have set out this financial goal, it's important to tell a trusted friend. For sure, your spouse should know what your financial goal is. It's helpful. Someone who can hold you accountable. Find a friend. You don't need to tell the whole world. It shouldn't be a Facebook post. But ideally, you should ensure that at least there is someone who is going to hold you accountable. Purposeful aging may be an accountability partner for you. You're saying, I'm going to choose a couple of colleagues here and I'm going to share with them what I want to do. And I hope, Dr. Christina, that in a subsequent session with the individual members can go and set out the goals, but they find within the family of Purposeful aging an accountability system. So they say, you know what, I have a colleague I told about what I want to do, and they will be able to hold me accountable. And the things to talk about are many. You could set a goal on your income. How do I want to grow my income? Some of you, the goal may be that I need to double my income this year. I've been earning 3 million, I need it to go to 6, I need it to go to 4. That's your goal. And you have noticed in your current workplace, it's not possible to double your income. And you are saying that I'm going to look for a new job, I'm going to look for new work. Why? Because my goal is that my income needs to be able to grow. That's okay. If you're running a business, you can say, I need to make sure that my sales are doubling this year. And that's a goal that I have set out. And after you have agreed on that goal, you share it with your team so that your team understands that this is what we are chasing this year. The goals may be on saving. Some of people are saying, someone here mentioned, I want to save in my unit trusts. How am I going to boost those savings? But that goal can be around your savings. Your goal could be around investments. Some of us are saying, you know what, I had started a small restaurant. I was running a small farm, but I need it to take off this year. I need to concentrate on it and make it work. That you can have a goal around your investments. Some people are saying, I need to start a business. What am I going to start? When am I going to start it? How am I going to start it? Why am I going to start it? That could be, you could have a goal around that and say, that's the goal which I am setting. Some people are in, their goal may be around debt. And the goal may be that I need to get out of debt this year. However, there are people whose goal is to get into debt this year. They say, this year I'm going to swallow a mortgage. And if that's the goal, think about it carefully. What responsibility does it come with? However, if your goal is to get out of debt, have you sat with a debt counselor to say, you know what I need? And this cohort of purposeful aging, in here you may have many people who can be resourceful to other members. There may be a senior member of this cohort who has walked the journey. And you as a young person, you need to say, you know what, I want to have an appointment with you. And when you sit down with them, they'll tell them, you know what, I have debt of 150 million. And it makes me, I'm worried. I don't feel peaceful. How can I start the journey of getting out? And those conversations can help you say, you know what, where can we cut on expenses? There's a point which you can stop at cutting expenses. Is there something we can sell to liquidate so that we get out of some debt? Can we move from having many debts from money lenders to having debts with formal institutions? All those are conversations which are valid and which we should be able to have. So your goal may be around getting out of debt. Now, if, for example, you have to understand that if you don't have a plan about your debt, someone else does. Currently, there is a bank and their business department is planning for you. Now, if you are not planning for your debt, someone else will plan for it. Some of us have taken debts we haven't planned because the bank has a better plan than we do. They have already called you and they say, but with your salary, you can take 10 times your salary. And you have no plan, but they have a plan. And since they have a plan, we go back to Kapere on the roundabout. If you don't know where you are going, any road will get you there. So ideally, if you don't have a plan for how am I going to manage debt this year, there's someone who is planning to give it to you. So you need to ask yourself, am I ready? Am I prepared? Around retirement, when should I retire? Should I retire? Should I have just a change of career? Those are important conversations. And you need to ask yourself this time. I mean, in a previous conversation, still on this platform, we talked about the fact that retirement is actually quite a long period. It may appear short, but it's long. When you retire at 60, chances are that it's another 20, 25 years. And we need to say what plans are around there. And this is a very good time. And I think this is what, this is the aspiration of the Purposeful Aging platform, that can we have conversations about it? You may just have to sit down with another colleague and say, you know what, so you retired, what are you doing? You say, no, you know what, I'm working on my farm and this is how I keep busy. And that may inspire you to say, you know what, this is a direction which I need to take. There is a very fascinating speaker on this subject. He's called Rabbi Leipen. I encourage, especially those of you who are approaching retirement, but the rest of us too. Rabbi Leipen has a very interesting analogy about retirement. And when asked that, are you planning? He said, no, but I have no plan at all to retire. None at all. He said, why should I retire if I can still speak if I can still understand, my mental faculties are well, I can still walk and do what I do, why should I even plan to retire? And he says, no, if I can still give service to my community, why should I? And it's a very fascinating school of thought, because even the concept of retirement is an industrial age concept. It is that you work in the factory and you finish, and when you're no longer strong enough to work in the factory, you go out of the factory. But ideally, the fact is that there are schools which are looking for people who can give guidance to the learners, universities who are looking for people who have experienced management and can teach it in a unique way. All those things are opportunities, and those are important questions which we need to ask ourselves. So as we think about our goals, you need to ask yourself the framing of my goals. And I think if we have, as we have this conversation, ask yourself those tough questions, because a friend may challenge you and he says that, yeah, why are you planning to retire at all? I mean, you're just changing careers. You're moving from one to the other, and it's okay. It could be a less intense career. It's totally okay. And you say that that's fine. And you could say, you know what, I have, I live around let's say you live on Masaka Road and you live around King's College, Budo. You walk into the headmaster's office and you say, you know what, I want to visit the school every Friday at 4. I want to teach the S6 class on how to excel at your work. And you make your program. I know the headmaster will be excited. The truth is that you may not even need the money, but you need that feeling that the service is there. So for me, even the financial goals that we are setting, we need to understand that sometimes they are seated in mindsets of, now I have retired, so the end has come. No, possibly it hasn't. And those are questions you need to ask yourself. Let me quickly conclude with the execution bit. The execution bit, what is important in execution is really the understanding that the most important thing about the plan is to actually execute it. And I think it's important to understand that how we know that the plan works is if it is executed. And I talked about this previously, but I'll say it again. We need to ensure that we don't get lost in the planning. Sometimes what we call the paralysis of analysis, where you do a lot of planning, a lot of in-depth planning, but you never get to the doing. You never get to the doing. I need to say that, you know what, I have planned, but now I'm going to execute. If you say you're going to put money in your unit trust, then you say that, you know what, the month is ending, let me sign an order for my bank to transfer money every month on 28th. And I'm going to put that order in my bank and tell it, that's your action. It means you have moved from planning to action. If you send the bank an email and say, you know what, I want to sign an order to transfer money for my unit trust every month. If it's your business, your execution could be that, you know what, yes, I'm planning to do this, but I've decided that I'm going to be right there at 8 every day for the next 6 months. Waking up in the morning at 8 and you do it is the start of the execution of the plan. So avoid the temptation of being paralyzed by the analysis. And I'll tell you that analysis sometimes can be a rabbit hole. You kind of keep going and going and going and going, and very soon you notice that nothing has gotten done. It's the discipline of saying, I'm going to say, I will execute, and I'm going to do the small things that I need to do. And that brings me to some of you have possibly enjoyed this amazing piece of work by a guy called James Clear, Atomic Habits. And he talks about tiny changes that have remarkable results. Tiny changes that have remarkable results. And I encourage you to pick this piece of work up. Those of you who love to read, please buy the book and read it. Those of you who don't love to read, at least get the audio book on YouTube and make sure you listen to it. But ideally, the point which he makes is that change and achieving goals is largely about doing the small things. He says if you have set a goal to ensure that you are going to exercise every day, you're going to exercise every day, and you have set an alarm that at 6 I am going to exercise, you need to say what small trigger makes it possible for me to go and exercise every day. The small trigger may be that I come and I put on my walking shoes. Every morning, I make sure the walking shoes are there and I put them on and I walk out of the house. Every morning, that's what you try to do. You say, I have no energy. I don't know whether I'll make the 5 kilometers, but I am going to walk out of the house and I'm going to start that walk. Those small things are key. The small thing which you may have to do in your finances is to say that, you know what, starting today, every expense that I incur, I'm going to put it in an Excel sheet. I'm going to put an Excel sheet, a Google Doc on my phone, and I'll post it there. I'll post it there. Now, it may not be that you have done the budgeting very well, but at least you have made the small step towards that direction. If you want to start saving, it may be that I am going to send the first 100,000 to buy circle, and I'm going to send that 100,000 immediately after this call. That's your small step. I think previously I told you about one of my favorite books on personal finance, and a classic in every respect, the Richest Man in Babylon. And in there he talks about saving being personal finance issues, but specifically about saving. So it's like passing a river and you throw one stone every day. And I shared this with you the last time I spoke. One stone every day. And he says that the action is pick up the stone and throw it to the river. You don't say that I will come on Saturday and I will throw all the 7 stones for the week at once. Or I'll come at the end of the year and I will throw all the 365 stones for the year at once. You say, I will throw one stone. So my challenge to you as we walk towards this is what small thing are you going to do? If it is debt, your small action may be to finish this call and you write down all the debts that you have. I have borrowed some 500,000 from my brother. I have borrowed some 400,000 from my father. I have a bank loan of 200 or of 20 million. I have this. That process of writing those small things might be your action. And it's a small action, a small tweak. And that small tweak can get you into a place where you say, can I pay off the smallest? Can I pay off the next one? So you need to ask yourself which small thing. And I encourage you, this piece of work is very exciting in this regard of how do you do small things that can be able to get you to your goal. The other piece which I'm going to talk about as I close is deep work. And especially for those of us who are still working, one of our goals may be to increase our incomes. And Carl Newport in his work, in his piece of work, deep work, he talks about the power of ensuring that you're working deep, the power of what they call deep and a deliberate practice. And he talks about how to remain focused on success in a distracted world. And I think it's very important to notice that there are so many things which are pulling you away from your goals. Some of them, it's cynicism, it is worry, it could be social media, it could be whatever it is. You need to understand that when you set out in the goal, usually the process of achieving that goal is a process of deep work, a process of digging deep, a process of sinking in deep so that you can be able to get the best out of yourself. Those of you who are employed, you need to ask yourself, is it my boss who doesn't notice what I do? Or is it that I'm not also working at 100%? Because the first one is actually more difficult. You can't change your boss. You could try, change employers, possibly. But ideally, the thing which is in your immediate control is saying that, how can I be able to be excellent at what I do? I talked about it last time I spoke. You need to make sure that you are super at what you do. So you need to adopt the process of deep work. The last one is a concept which many of us are familiar with, the Kaizen concept. It's taught in many management courses, but it's very important to understand that you need to ask yourself, am I constantly becoming better, changing for the better? This is a Japanese concept where you say, how can I continuously change for good? And as we approach our goals, we need to understand that it is the idea of continuous practice. You're going to have many purposeful aging meetings, but these are platforms actually for us to get better. In this whole conversation, you may get one idea. It is a perfect return on investment, on your 1 hour investment, if you get just one idea. But I know in the next conversation, someone else will be here and there will be another idea. So if you are constantly getting better, constantly saying, how can I be able to achieve that goal? Then we are looking in the right direction. Thank you so much for your time. Allow me to stop there for now.
Thank you so much, Ronald. Allow me to call you Ronald. I think members, you'll all agree with me that this has been an excellent 1 hour exposure. And I just want to open up this for comments and questions, if there are any, and we all continue to learn together. There's been a lot, and I know you want to share. So kindly put up your hand if you want to speak to us, or if you can write in the chat box. Dr. Philippa will pick everything that has been put in the chat box. And in the meantime, we'll ask Dr. Jane Kavma to prepare some closing remarks, which we shall have at the end of the question and answer session. It's been such a wonderful session. Thank you so much, Ronald. Thank you. And I know I deliberately left out the fact that you are a married man with 3 children, and to the lucky lady called Brenda. I think this has filtered out throughout this whole session. Let me give people a chance to give comments. If there are no hands up, we can, Dr. Philippa, you can start us getting comments from the chat room.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mukasa. It was excellent, and I'm seeing in the chat people have started moving away from Busega, so we are having some. I realized my double behind. We still don't have any questions. Just a minute, there's a comment here. This has been an excellent and realistic presentation. It has challenged some of us to think again and focus on how we achieve our goals. So most of what we have in the chat are comments and thanks for the great and informative session. And at least we are seeing people have started to move away from that place of lack of clarity and finding some financial goals. Yes, there are questions which we've had about whether we'll share the presentation. We will also share the recording. If we have your email address, we usually send the recording on email, but if not, you can please post it.
Sorry, Dr. Philippa, can you be louder, please?
Okay, can you hear me better now?
It needs to be louder than that still.
Okay, let me try something else. 1 minute.
Can you hear better now? I hope you can hear better now.
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Okay, good. Right. So I was saying we will share the recording for this session. If possible, put your email in the chat, or you can send it to me directly, and we will be able to send you the recording on email. If not, you can send your phone number as well, so that we are able to post the link for the recording once it's ready. Okay, so I still don't have questions. Is there anyone with a hand up, maybe? There's a hand up from Grace. Yes, Grace? Grace, you can unmute and ask a question or make a comment. Grace, you can go on and speak. I can't hear you if you're talking.
Yes.
If you're
Good
talking.
morning.
Okay,
Good
good.
morning. Thank you very much. First of all, for this forum, I'm really grateful. And I'm also grateful for today's morning session. So my name is Grace Kawatangare, and I've been a stay-home mom for the longest time and doing a few things here and there. I'm 45 this year. And I'm asking, can we share some practical ways in which we can increase our income outside of the corporate world? And can I also get indeed a mentor, as Ronald said, somebody like an accountability partner within this forum? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Grace. Ronald, I'll ask you maybe to tackle her first part of the question about how to increase the income. Over to you, Ronald.
Thank you, Dr. Philippa. Great. Thank you, Grace, for that question. It's a powerful question. And I think, how can we be able to boost our income? You have shared at what point you are in your life, and I think the way to look to look at it is to appreciate that, in a way, the process of making money or boosting income is usually built on the experiences we have had. Now, all this time you mentioned that you are a stay-home mom. The truth is that there are experiences which you have accumulated at it's kind of your basket of skills. Your basket of skills, it's there, and there are many things you have learned. You could say, I possibly raised my children, I've managed my household, the things which you have done. And one of the things which you do is to take an inventory of that, and you say, of these things here, which one can I actually commercialize? After you have painted a picture of where you are at with regard to the basket of skills, the next question is, which need actually exists out there? I'll give you a quick example from what you have shared, and I'll be glad to just have a deeper conversation on the subject on this after the call. But for example, one of the biggest challenges is for all of us as parents. Dr. Christina has mentioned that I'm married with 3 children. There are so many things as a parent which you are battling with. It could be a child who is being misbehaved. It could be a child who who is struggling with making friends. It could be it could be the fact that my child doesn't want to learn or something like that. Now, you may not notice, but this experience you already actually hold. And you're saying, you know what, which quick enterprise can I go into? You may even say that I don't even have the capital to start something different. But you're saying, you know what, how can I use even my home to say, is there a bit of counseling which I can do for some parents who are struggling in this area? And a parent would be saying, if you go to that auntie, you can spend some time with them. Chances are that you have taught your children in some areas. You say, you know what, can I get together some 10 children and share these skills with them? Now, you may find an intersection there, and you say, actually, that's where my business opportunity is seated. I have the skill, I know how to do it, but also there is a need. And that need is because there are many parents currently who are fighting, who are battling with children who are misbehaved. And if I can tell them that, you know what, if I sit with this child in 7 sessions, I can be able to help the child, but also help you on how you can handle this. And that becomes the consultancy area which you're doing. It could be that you enjoy to make meals for your family, and that's what you are passionate about, and you have been doing it. You don't even notice that it's something which you are excellent at, and you say, you know what, I can start a baking service within my home, and that baking service with the parents of my friends and my friends' children, I can start a baking service. I can deliver it. I have a friend whose business is making juice. And I'm fascinated at how much the business has grown. It is a business where now they go for weddings and they have their juice equipment, and they'll get a contract to supply 200 glasses of juice, and each glass is at 10,000 shillings, and they have got a big contract. They'll come set up and supply at the wedding, and those are the things. But where I want you to start is to notice that all this time, even as a stay-home mom, you have been building experiences. And it is time for you to say, how can I be able to commercialize these these businesses? How can I be able to make money out of them? Because the business you are looking for is not very far from the experiences that you have had, and you'll notice that that is it. If you have done some homeschooling, that may be something which you are good at, and there are parents who are saying, you know what, my child is really struggling with this. Can she have some homeschooling? And you might walk into your passion. So there is a side of the experiences which you have had. Let me say, I don't want to even go back to the corporate world. I don't want to go and ask for a job. That's valid. But you could say that these experiences I have, how can I be able to build on them? And I would be glad, Grace, to just have a conversation and we pick it up. I shared my contact, so please don't hesitate to reach out. Philippa, back to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ronald, for that excellent feedback. Grace, I think Ronald has already offered us to have some sessions with you. And I'm also sending you in the chat our email address where you can reach out and we can speak more about your request about having a mentor or someone to talk to more about various things. It would be nice if you can let us know what exactly so we can see how we can help. Yeah. Then Ronald, Grace, I'm sending you the email just now. And for all of us, I'll also post it in the in the chat for everyone is Purposeful Bakulu. So you can email us in case you have questions or a need, and we see how we can address it. Right. Before I go to the questions in the chat, I'll let Julianne, who's put up her hand, she can unmute and voice over. Over to you, Julianne. Julianne?
Much, Dr. Philippa. Yeah, thank you so much for inviting us, our class, to this session. It's been very helpful. And I have a question or even a suggestion. Yeah, the things discussed here are really, really relevant. And some people in the group might be, you know, they have a goal and they are trying out. Maybe let me be more specific. Yeah, I have a farm and I'm trying to make it productive, but I'm really working on my own. I ask for advice here and there, and some things work, some things don't work. So in line with what the presenter has said of accountability partners or people, the suggestion would be if there are people in certain lines or with similar goals, if it were possible for them to group together, if you could assist to do that so that they can leverage each other's experience and each other's ideas and networks. I think that would be helpful in terms of, you know, even knowing the next small step. So because you could have a step of this year, I want to make this work, and you start the small step, but you're not so sure which is there for the second next step. But if these people are somehow talking with each other, then they can pick each other's brains and each other's ideas and be able to make more progress. Otherwise, thank you so much for this wonderful service.
All right. Thank you, Julianne. A wonderful suggestion. And it can be hard for a group to come together, but I'd say again that we can use the email and we use that to connect. And whoever is in need of someone or some needs someone to link to, this could be a way that we do it. When we receive an email, we can link it to like-minded people who are in need of the same service. So thank you very much, Julian, for that. Okay, since there are no other hands for now, Ronald, there were a few questions in the chat for you. Let me just scroll up to those. There was one from, sorry. Just a minute, I'm trying to go back to the question. Or have you already seen it?
There is also a hand from Anne, I think.
Okay, Anne can go on while I find the question. Okay, got it. But Anne, you can go on. Please unmute and voice over.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you very much, Mr. Ronald. Just given your experiences with Enterprise Uganda, I'm curious to know whether there is potential in weekend leisure activity, okay, facilities offering weekend leisure activities for families or children that are not necessarily hotels, but things like spending time in green spaces, maybe hiking, that sort of thing. It's some kind of ideas that I'm grappling with, and I wonder if there's anybody else in this group that is working towards that as well, or may have thought about it. Thank you.
Okay, maybe Ronald, I could read this one question and you answer Anne's question together with this. The question was, UNBS says an average Ugandan earns 4 million shillings annually. How much does that person need to save and retire at 55? Okay, you could take those two questions while I read others.
All right. Thank you so much for those questions. I'll first share on Anne's question. And I think we're seeing quite a bit of growth in the entertainment, in the tourism industry. But I think specifically, given the way homes are set up now, people are generally living in smaller spaces. People struggle. I mean, many people, all they have is where they can park their vehicle. And even a small birthday party for a child can be complex. And you want to invite just 30 people, but you find that the space, honestly, is not there. So I think in that there is a growing demand for such spaces, and I think it is certainly an opportunity. There are a couple of people who we know at Enterprise Uganda who are in the industry, and it would be interesting to just visit their spaces and you see what they are doing. I think that the opportunity is there. However, I think for me and even on hiking, and we are seeing people who are running together nowadays who are saying let's go and climb a mountain, and that business space is growing. I think the bigger challenge is to fully appreciate the business side of it. I mean, facilities are tough to maintain. They are heavy to maintain. Some people don't fully appreciate their regulatory or responsibilities, things on noise pollution, things on on how to even manage your taxes. So that bit or that side of the business is important to think about as you start the journey, so that you fully understand how the cash flows will come in. Such businesses often need a lot of upfront capital investment to get the facility to the point where you want it to look right, and then you you go to the side of earning money slowly over a period of time. There are peak seasons, and it can be out of season. So if that bit is understood, the business is there. Because sometimes someone invests a big amount of money. Let's say you say, you know what, I have a space, I want to turn it into a beautiful garden. I invest 40 million shillings. When you invest the 40 million, it could come back to you after 5 years. Now, that's a long period of time, and people get frustrated in the middle, and they quickly say the business is not working. But it's important that they start to understand the dynamics of that business. For example, I mean, a lot of the gardens and spaces like that actually are driven by referral. So a friend tells a friend. So you need to be patient to enjoy that referral to come. And that could be a couple of years. But if that patience is there, there are a number of people you can work with. I think Dr. Christina has just shared on Sanyuka Square Recreation Center. I would encourage you to reach out to her. Make sure that you go and visit the location. Take some time and talk and say, how is this playing out? And I think that space, that space, you can be able to drive it towards a winning position. On the second question of earning 4 million, I think there is a very interesting statistic, and that shows that that's what people earn. The average person who gets their NSSF after 25 years of work, 30 years of work, it falls somewhere between 40 and 70 million. That's what most people are getting. So that's the bit which you are going to get. I think the important question is that if you earn 4 million if that's what the average person earns, there are big questions about how do we boost and raise the income of the entire country's population. I think that's like the goal of government. How do we become a middle income country? So certainly there is a case that the incomes need to raise. But if it's 4 million, which means that you are earning averagely, give or take, about 350,000 shillings per month, that amount which you are taking home, the question which has to be asked is what is possible in there, because that is what sets the lifestyle which you are going to have. And I'll tell you that if you can answer the question of how do I fit within the 350, then the question of how you can be able to save in that environment plays out. So someone will say, I earn 350,000 shillings. My child is going to go to a UPE school. I'm going to look for a good one, a good UPE school. Some of you may have looked at the results of PLE, which have just come out. And one of the schools which was, I think, mentioned a bit was Kiswa Primary School, which is a UPE school. But it's a good school. Their performance was good. Now, you need to ask yourself, okay, I earn 350,000 shillings. How do I make sure that I do the 5 jars with this amount? Because for you, the savings may be that, you know what, I'm going to put aside every month, I'm going to target to save 50,000 shillings. That's what I'm going to target to save. It's not very big. It's close to about just 10% of that amount. But ideally, that's if you can save 50,000 shillings. Someone else who has a different lifestyle will say 50,000 shillings is little money. But 50,000 shillings times 12, you have 600,000 shillings at the end of the year. That is 2 months' salaries. And you find that this is something which it has, the amount is really driven by what income level you are at. And this brings me to a conversation I think we had in the previous session about the fact that in many workplaces, one of the fascinating things is that the people who earn least are the best savers. The people who earn more are the people who save least. So you find someone is a driver, is a cleaner in an organization, but they have saved. Now, their savings are 1 million shillings. But the one who earns 10 million can't even save the 1 million shillings. So for me, it is just a ratio of where you are at. So if I am at, I'm earning 4 million shillings a year, if I can end the year with 600,000 shillings in my savings, I have done well. I've done very well. And if I can do that consistently for 5 years, I can be able to transfer. Now, is that a lot of money? No, it isn't. But it is that at the point of life I am, because this is the same argument we give to young people as they start work. You're going to get your first salary at 500. Now, it's fair to say that 500 is very little, I can't save much. But the truth is that if you can't save before you get a wife and you have children to pay school fees for and you have responsibilities, you can't say that when you're earning 5 million shillings, then you have a wife and you have children to look for, you will actually start saving. No, it has to start at that 500. And the 500, you take the 100,000 and put it into the staff circle. And that process, if you can get that behavior in, then you will be able to win. Philippa, possibly I also answered, there was another one in the chat box, I think from Simon about coaching services. Yes, I do offer the coaching services. I've posted my phone number in the chat box. Please do reach out and we can have a conversation. Even Enterprise Uganda has we have services where we can give coaching services, especially for the people who are in business, who are running businesses. We can send someone to your business to take a look and get a feel of how your business is running. That's a service which can be offered. So please do reach out. You can send me a WhatsApp and I will make sure we get onto our database and we can coach. But Philip, I wanted to also talk about the platform, Purposeful Aging. I think what the richness of Purposeful Aging is the wealth of experience that is in this platform. And this wealth of experience, I think, causing conversations between senior members with younger members would be an interesting thing. And people can organize them outside, but just, get a contact of someone. Dr. Christina has shared about the work which she's doing in the recreation space. Just set up a meeting one day when she's going to the space and you spend an afternoon with her. That can be able to cause transformation. I think that would be a nice thing which the platform can be able to do to broaden this learning agenda. Thank you so much. I'll stop there for now.
Thank you so much, Ronald. It's it's always a profound experience listening to you. Just one more question that just came in from Grace, asking if you have any advice about family businesses. How well can they thrive? We'll take that last question before I hand back to the moderator.
Wow, that's a big question, Grace, and I hear where it is coming from. The majority of businesses in the country are actually family businesses. And I think we can have a full day conversation on this, but my quick 2 or 3 ideas on thriving of the family business is appreciating that the business and the family are actually 2 separate people. You are family and you have started a business. And sometimes the decisions the family makes actually hurt the business. The decisions are good for the family, but they're not very good for the business. So sometimes when we run a family business, we need to understand that the business is a person and the family is also an institution of itself. The business is a separate institution and the family is a separate institution. And the responsibility of the family is to have stewardship over this business for the interests of that business. So for example, questions like, should every family member work in the business? Sometimes it's not good for the business for every family member to work in it. But if there is a family member who is astute at business, who does a good job, then let that person come in. So the business needs to put a criteria. How do we open the door for a family member? Is it because they have the family name, or is it because they actually qualify for that position? And if they don't qualify, has the business set up a mechanism to teach them? And that's why they encourage us, take the children to the business as soon as they're young. These holidays, let them spend time in the business. All these ideas are actually driven by this belief and this conviction that we can be able to build the institution of the business on itself. The second thing is really the transfer, the succession. It's something which we haven't yet done very well as a country, and we need to be able to do it better. And I think for me, there have to be deliberate programs for how do we make sure that transition happens. Some people for transition, I know people who are running family businesses who have sent their children to other family businesses. So they work there as external people. Then they come back into the business. But it has to be deliberate. You as the parent, you need to be studying those children and asking, what are the strengths of these children? And be honest with them and say, okay, this person is strong in this area. This person is strong in this area. This is where we can be able to get the best value out of them. And sometimes also the business needs to accept to get people from the outside. Sometimes you say the best people are outside the business. Let us bring them in. We will continue controlling the board, but we will not interfere that much with management. Those are all interesting conversations. And Grace, I hope it's possibly one of the topics which Purposeful Aging talks about, but it's a broad topic and it's one of the ones which would be nice to just invite someone who has run a family business. There are some which have transitioned very well. There are celebrated stories like the Mulwana estate, the Mulwana Enterprises, and the broader group. We have seen the Madvanis have done very well, and there are lessons there which can be picked. But I think it's an important thing to dive deep and say we are going to get the best out of this family business.
Right. Thank you very much, Ronald. I'll hand back to the moderator now, but just before I do that, I'll just mention about our next session. We intend to have on February the 23rd. We'll be talking about HIV and aging and how to get that together. So I'll hand back to you, moderator, for the closing.
Thank you very much, Dr. Philippa. Dr. Ronald, it has even become better as we go through the question and answer session. I just wanted to point out that many of the sessions we've had before have in some way touched some of the questions which have been coming in through today. And I'll encourage members to look them up. And maybe the other personal point I would like to put up is that many of us aged people tend to give less importance to you, the caregivers, the working class, the paper movers, You come, you tell us something about our land, which is tucked away in Busega, Gadumire, and we sort of overlook such advice. And yet, that is exactly what we should be doing. Like someone who asked about family members getting involved, many of the advice for turning your assets, which you are looking at with sentiments, can be given by your son, your son-in-law, who is currently in the working class. So you don't even have to go so far away. But Purposeful Aging has tried to set up physical meetings, hybrid meetings, physical and online, where we have met physically and shared richly. So I will encourage, if you get notice that there is a physical meeting, please do try to spare time. They are very interesting and they are very fruitful. We are planning one where we really want to involve children and the parents and, the whole family as such. So I would like to also invite one of our constant attendees, Dr. Jane Kavuma, to give us just a few closing words. She tells me that her internet is a bit unstable, but she'll attempt to give us closing remarks. Thank you, Jane. You're welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Christina Kadama. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
we can. Yes, we can.
Oh, I'm happy about that. Okay, good morning, great gentlemen and ladies. As Dr. Christine has said, I'm one of the constant attendants of these discussions. Mr. Ronald Mukasa, Edward Mukasa, if I'm just to summarize, I would say thank you for giving us this excellent talk. It's relevant, it's timely, it's useful and challenging. I am a pensioner, still struggling to get my financial matters right. But thankfully, I'm not like Kapere at Busega. Roundabout. I remember in my school, after some years, I was out of the country, I wrote to the headmistress of Gaza High School that one thing you should cover in the activities, the students should be exposed to financial matters, because I was having it very difficult. I'm finding it very difficult to get it right. So I thought maybe I had started at a later age and that it should be started early on in schools. And that's why even I would request the members of this group, Purposeful Aging, who can volunteer to go back to their schools, those who were accountants, who were in financial matters, and help our children to grow up knowing the importance of financial planning, financial saving. Uganda has no culture of saving and maintaining things. Those are the things which we can take on as volunteers. But thank you, Mr. Ronald Mukasa, for demystifying the financial matters and using very simple stories like Kapere at the Busega roundabout and the village 4. You've made it very easy for us to really understand what you're talking about. And thank you for spelling out the 3 important steps of attaining financial security: planning, preparation, and then the most important, implementing what you have planned. Because even if I made a plan and prepared and never put into action, then it will remain a wish on paper. I agree entirely with you about retirement. Why should one retire when you're still active? I agree. Why? You could change careers, you could serve the community, or explore your wealth of knowledge and experiences to benefit the young. You can become a mentor and sponsor of the young in your community. And this is purposeful aging. You are still useful and relevant to your community. And financial security is an integral part of purposeful aging. Now that you've covered the most important part, the journey begins for the young and for us to take action and do what you have advised us to do. Thank you very much for this relevant and excellent talk. And I thank you all, the members who have joined in this discussion, who are on this forum. And I would lastly last but not least, want to thank Dr. Christina Kadama and your team for always coming up with relevant talks that are important in our lives as we live our lives every day. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jane Kafma. And thank you so much, all our seniors and caregivers and all those who have facilitated attendance for this session. To our facilitator today, Ronald Mukasa, thank you so much. We are really a lot better than when we came. I've seen Busega roundabout is also in transformation stages. Thank you. Have a fruitful new year and a beautiful weekend. Bye-bye from Purposeful Aging. See you end of February.